What's going on, everyone? Bran here from Bloody Breakdown, and today, if you're as big of a fan of the Blair Witch franchise as I am, you're going to love this news. Stick around. So for us Blair Witch fans, it is definitely few and far between when we actually get some kind of new Blair Witch content, especially on the silver screen. This is a franchise that has kind of tackled a myriad of different types of media, from video games to movies to, just so many different things, even like comics and things of that nature. There's so much source material, but rarely do we ever see that translate over into the silver screen. Now, interestingly enough, we're not only going to be talking about a new Blair Witch film, but elements from the things that I've just talked about that are hopefully going to give it a lot of fire to be able to do something no other Blair Witch film has done since the original. And that is something I'm a little bit excited about based on the news that we've recently gotten here. So this is coming to us courtesy of bloodydisgusting.com. And as you can see, the article titled here is "The Blair Witch Project, Oliver Park reportedly directing new installment for Lionsgate." So let's dig right in here because, like I said, this is Blair Witch Project. The film itself is in probably my top 5 or 10 of all time horror films. So I absolutely get really giddy when we get anything new because, once again, like I said, always few and far between as far as the films go. So digging into the article, it says, "Found footage masterpiece." Thank you very much. I think that's an appropriate title. The Blair Witch Project came along and changed the game back in 1999, subsequently spawning its own sprawling universe of media, including official follow-up films in 2000 and 2016, as well as a couple of books, video games that have served to deepen the lore. But how much longer do we have to wait for another Blair Witch movie? Going on, it says, "As you may recall, it has been reported that last April that Lionsgate was looking to relaunch the Blair Witch franchise," and I think we may have covered that here on the channel, but it kind of went radio silent after that. Nothing for, like I said, it's been a little over a year at this point. So going on, it says, Production Weekly brings us an update this week. Gotta love Production Weekly, right? Production Weekly informs us that Oliver Park has been hired to direct a, quote, untitled Blair Witch sequel for Lionsgate, and it's reportedly targeting for a late summer/fall shoot. Park is a British writer-director who helmed last year's The Offering, and his directing credits also include Strange Events, Still, and A Horror of Night, Nightmare Radio. And I got to be honest with you, I'm not really familiar with his line of work, but given some of those titles, it sounds like something I'd be into. And if he's going to be at the helm of a new Blair Witch film, I guarantee you I'll be checking out some of his work to get an idea if maybe I feel he's right for it, and kind of get an idea about my level of excitement for this film also. And I suggest you do as well if you're not familiar with him. Now, here's the part that really got me excited. Of particular note, the production company attached to the project is Haxon Films, the team behind the original Blair Witch Project. These details have not been confirmed by Lionsgate at this time, but both Daniel Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez are listed as producers. The original found footage classic from 1999 was written and directed by Myrick and Sanchez. So there you go. Right there is already something to get me hype. I don't know about you guys, but me for sure. If you go back and you look at the original film, in my opinion, it's a classic. The marketing was amazing. The film is a sterling example of less is more. Like I said, it's one of my top favorite 5-10 horror films of all time. To this day, it is still very effective. Was, of course, effective when it first launched for me as a preteen, and Daniel Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez are the guys who should have been behind this franchise the entire time. The sequel, Book of Shadows, was had a lot of interference by the movie studio, by the production company, and completely obliterated what could have been a very intriguing sequel and turned it into, let's be real, just absolute crap. Even in the 2016 reboot, I felt was a decent attempt, but it never could really capture the magic of the original, not even in a small dose. So I am very excited to see that the guys who should have been at the helm of this the entire time and have been effectively, from what I understand, ignored by these movie production companies. You know, even though the article is going to say here in a minute, these guys have some amazing ideas, and they've been talking about them for years. So glad to see these two on as producers of the film. That in and of itself makes me think that this could be something that could finally hold a candle to that original 1999 film. So going back into the article, it says Blair Witch 2016, directed by Adam Wingert, wasn't exactly a big hit at the box office, but the original film's directors have never given up hope on someday returning to the franchise to pump new life into it. Oddly enough, creators Daniel Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez didn't have much creative input in either of the follow-up films, despite having a wealth of ideas. And of course, stay tuned for more there. And I mean, they're absolutely correct. You know, those two created this universe. They have, in their words, a wealth of ideas going forward. And as they said at the top of this article, there's such a deep lore when it comes to the Blair Witch franchise. There's so many things that have never even been touched upon on the silver screen that were created in the video games or books and things of that nature. But there's just so much to draw from that they have not done. There's so many things you can do with Ellie Kedward and Rustin Parr and different locations and some of these characters that we've seen and some of the stories that we've seen. There's such a deep lore, and I don't think anyone really understands it and can apply it as well as Myrick and Sanchez. So I'm very excited to see those two coming back to this in some capacity. And I'm just excited in general to see another Blair Witch film, to be honest with you, because like I said, it's always so few and far between. A franchise that started in 1999, a big horror franchise, to this point only has 3 installments. You know, that's just something you don't really see a lot these days. You know, you got to think, this is the same series that came out around the same time as Scream, that it just punched in its 6th entry in the franchise. So I always kind of felt like it was ignored, the franchise. It was left behind. It was, you know, I guess they thought it was going to always coast off the success of the original, and that's just not always the case. But like I said, Myrick and Sanchez back is a huge opportunity, I think, for this franchise to do something that it should have done back in 2000 with Book of Shadows. You know, dig into this lore and give us something that can be on that same level. You know, nothing's ever going to recreate that classic Blair Witch film. Nothing's ever going to be able to duplicate it. But giving us something that is close in approximation, giving us something that utilizes a lot of lore, giving us something that is at least true to the original and can at least justify its own existence, I think that's something we could possibly be looking at. We could possibly be looking at the first, in many ways, legitimate sequel to that film. And I mean, I'm jumping the gun. There's no telling what we could be doing here. This is a film franchise where we could definitely do prequels. We could definitely do something as a period piece. So, you know, all that speculation at this point. All we do know is that it looks like Myrick and Sanchez are back, and we're going to be getting a brand new Blair Witch film here soon. So if you're a fan of that franchise, that series, as I am, I know you're super excited. But yeah, leave your thoughts down below in the comment section. You excited for this new Blair Witch film? Have you given up hope on the franchise and you're just done? That's fine. Leave me your thoughts down below in the comments. I love to talk to everyone about their opinions, especially on franchises like this, because, man, I love this one. And yeah, drop a comment as always, folks. Check that description section. There's you know, links to my Twitter, links to support the channel, things of that nature. If you're interested in any of that, it is there. And of course, as always, all that other YouTube jargon. Leave a like, subscribe, notifications. You guys know all that. Yeah, once again, appreciate your time, ladies and gentlemen. I'm super excited, and I hope you are too, because I'm Bran, and that's the bloody breakdown on a brand new Blair Witch film.